I remember you in fragments, like petals pressed between pages of old books, delicate and scented with forgotten time. You arrived not with thunder, but with silence, an echo in the hallways of my soul that grew louder each time you smiled. The first glance didn't scream fate, but whispered it instead, in that charming, British way that destiny sometimes adopts when it wants to surprise you slowly. I knew of love like stories told before bed, full of dragons and dreamers. But when you looked at me, it was not a fairy tale, it was a mirror. I saw myself brave and open, soft and wild. And suddenly, I didn't need to be rescued. I just needed to be seen. And you saw me, didn't you? Not the polished parts or the lines rehearsed for the world, but the in-between moments. The ones I tucked away, thinking they were unworthy of applause. You and your quiet devotion made them sacred. That's where this all began. Not with fireworks, but with the hush before them, holding its breath. We walked through seasons like dancers, learning the rhythm of the wind. Autumn clung to your coat, as if it too didn't want to let go. Do you remember that bench, half hidden beneath falling leaves? You spoke of your fears that day, not loud, not ashamed, just honest, like offering a piece of yourself carved in trust. I wanted to gather each word, wrap them in my palms, and hold them against my chest. Because love, I believe, isn't made from declarations shouted into voids. It's made from these quiet confessions under the trees. The world moved around us, cars passed, dogs barked, children laughed, but we existed in a stillness only lovers understand. Your hand, call-used and kind, brushed against mine, and something unspoken promised, I'm not going anywhere. In that moment, the earth tilted slightly, and suddenly every yesterday made sense. All the heartbreaks, the missteps, the waiting, it was all a path that led me straight into that gaze, into the warmth of you. I have studied your silhouette, as one studies ancient poetry, with reverence and awe, tracing every line as if it were written by starlight. You, leaning against the kitchen counter, sleeves rolled, eyes flicking toward mine, not to check if I was watching, but hoping I was. And I always was. I watched the way you peeled oranges, slowly, tenderly, as if you were unwrapping a memory. You made the mundane feel profound, and I loved you most, not in grand gestures, but in those sacred, domestic pauses. You humming while you made tea, you scribbling in the margins of a worn-out novel. You looking at me like I was something you'd been waiting to find your entire life. And in those hours that didn't make it to photo albums, in the soft evening hush between dinner and dreams, I found the truest kind of devotion. The kind that doesn't just say I love you, but says, I choose you again and again, through every quiet heartbeat. There were days I broke, days I sank into myself, like the tide withdrawing from shore. And I expected you to pull away too, to grow weary of holding someone who sometimes couldn't hold herself. But you stayed. You didn't try to fix me, didn't plaster my pain with borrowed words. You sat with it, with me. You wrapped my shaking frame in the blanket of your presence and let me breathe. That to me was the most romantic thing anyone had ever done. It wasn't roses or candlelit poems. It was patience. It was presence. It was the way you reached for my hand even when I couldn't reach back. And through your unwavering stillness, I healed, not all at once, not with fanfare, but like winter yielding to spring, subtle, certain, sure. You saw the fractured girl behind the laughter and chose her, not despite the cracks, but because of them. You whispered, even broken things can glow, and suddenly I began to shine again. Do you remember the night we couldn't sleep? The rain tapping on the windows like a forgotten lullaby, and we lay there, tangled in whispers and questions that had no answers. You told me your dreams, not the big ones, not the ones shaped by ambition, but the quiet ones. The dream of growing old with laughter lines and garden mornings, of stories read aloud to children who carried pieces of both of us in their eyes. You said you wanted a love that outlasted time, and I realized you had it already. Not in the fireworks or the flash, but in the way I leaned my head on your chest, listening for the rhythm that matched my own. The way your fingers absently traced the curve of my shoulder, anchoring me even as the world spun madly outside. That night, the storm outside softened, and I swear the stars peeked through just for us. Because love like ours doesn't scream to be noticed, it simply exists, quietly reshaping everything it touches. There were fights, of course. Love isn't always poetry. Sometimes it's punctuation, sharp and sudden. We said things we didn't mean, let silence hang longer than it should have. But even in anger, I never doubted us. Because love isn't about never falling, it's about always rising, hand in hand, afterward. And we did. We stitched apologies into morning coffee, wrote forgiveness across each other's backs with fingertips trembling but true. You never left the room when things got hard. You leaned in, you asked, how do we fix this, and meant it. That was the magic, not perfection, but perseverance. Not harmony without effort, but music made from two different instruments, learning how to play the same song. And somehow, with all our flaws and all our fire, we made something beautiful. Something that could withstand storms, something that didn't just survive, but deepened. 1,000 yesterdays, and still I'd choose you, in every version of forever. You once told me that love was a kind of home, not a place, not even a person, but a feeling. A truth you carry even when the roads get rough. And I think of that every time I miss you. Every time you're away, and I reach for your side of the bed, only to find the hush of absence. But even then, even when you're not here, you are. In the books, stacked crookedly on the shelf, in the scarf you forgot draped over the chair, in the way my laugh still curls into a sound you taught it to make. You live in the soft parts of me now, not as a ghost, not as a memory, but as presence, as permanence. They say absence makes the heart grow fonder, but I think it just teaches the heart how deep its roots go. And mine, they stretch toward you, always. No matter how far, no matter how long, you are still the heartbeat beneath my quietest moments. Sometimes I wonder how we ever existed without each other. What did the world look like before your name was written into my breath? I try to remember, but it's like looking through fog, blurry and incomplete. You are the definition now, of morning, of peace, of purpose. I don't believe in coincidences the way I used to. Not after meeting you. You were placed in my path like a lighthouse, not to save me, but to remind me I could find my way. And now, even when the seas rise, and the night stretches too long, I hold fast to the memory of your light. It guides me, grounds me, grows me. And I know deep within the marrow of my bones, that some connections transcend logic, time, even lifetimes. We were not a moment, we were a turning point, and I will never again be who I was before you. I wouldn't want to be. Your voice is the soundtrack of my favorite days. Not just the words, but the way you speak them, soft, unhurried, full of meaning, even when you're just asking where the keys went. It's the music I play in my head when the world gets loud. And when you say my name, even now, it feels like the first time someone ever truly spoke it. Like you see not just who I am, but who I was always meant to be. I read once that love is not about finding someone to live with, but finding someone you can't live without. I never understood that fully, until you came along. You didn't complete me, because I was already whole, but you did something far greater. You revealed parts of me I didn't know existed. You made the silence less lonely, the ordinary extraordinary. And now, every breath I take carries a trace of your presence, an echo of the life we built, and the love we continue to shape. Even if the world were to end tomorrow, I'd carry no regrets, because I've known you. Because I've been loved in the kind of way most people spend lifetimes searching for, and that is enough. No, more than enough, it's everything. The kind of everything that turns days into destinies. We've lived 1,000 yesterdays together, and each one has left its fingerprint on my soul. You are not just part of my story, you are the ink. The reason the page turns. And when I close my eyes, it is your smile I see etched against the darkness, steady and kind. I hope you know, truly know, that you've given me a life rich with meaning. That your love is the kind I will carry even into the next world, if such a place exists. If I am ever reborn, I will spend every breath of that life finding you again. Because once in a lifetime wasn't nearly enough for a love like ours, And so, here I am, years deep into this journey, still looking at you like you hung the moon. I still find new reasons to fall, little things, like the way your brow furrows when you read, or how you still open doors without thinking. You've aged like poetry, deeper, more resonant, more achingly beautiful, and I too have changed. But the core remains my love for you, steady as a drumbeat, sure as the tides. We've grown through storms, bloomed in quiet corners, and held on when everything else said to let go. We've become something rare, something real. And if I could gift the world one truth, it would be this. Love doesn't always come in grand gestures or cinematic splendor. Sometimes it comes in the form of a hand reaching for yours in the dark. A voice saying, I'm here, and staying. Always staying. So here's to 1,000 yesterdays, my love, and to the 1,000 more we've yet to write. With you every moment is poetry, every breath, a promise, every heartbeat, a vow.